Hello again, it's me, and I'm trying to contain my excitement. The other day, I was speaking to the receptionist, and she happened to mention she just noticed some discount ferry ticket prices online. My ears pricked up, and I thought to myself, ooh, day trip to Helsinki, why not? And at those prices, it's a bargain. I've been to Helsinki before, several times. The last time was quite a while ago, and I felt like taking advantage of this bargain with the ferry terminal deals. So I looked online. Sadly, I'd missed out. Prices were back to normal. 2 weeks later, I was checking regularly every couple of days, I just happened to find before I was going to bed. So it was really unexpected. I looked and lo and behold, there were the discount prices again. Tickets basically 50 to 60% cheaper than normal. To give you an example, the discount the receptionist had seen was, I think, €6 there, €6 back, with a ferry which takes about 2.5 hours. So it's an early start in the morning, late arrival, back at night. But it's a pretty good deal, pretty full day, I would say, under the circumstances. The deal I managed to secure was, I think it was €8.40 for a one-way ticket, and the same price to bring me back. The cheapest price tickets normally would be, if you were lucky, €13, but usually the cheapest would be 15, and sometimes those prices aren't at exactly the right times of the morning or the evening, so you might not get enough time, for example, in Helsinki to make it worthwhile going on the trip. Very often you'd be paying €20, perhaps even more, for a one-way trip. So I was really happy. €16.80 in total for my there and back ferry journeys. Looked at the weather forecast because motion sickness can be an issue for me, and calm seas, so that was great. These huge ferries should have pretty good stabilization anyway. If it was a storm that was that bad, they wouldn't be running, and if it was even remotely turbulent out there on the Baltic Sea, I'd be staying at home. 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and then the journey home. Potentially 5 hours of feeling nauseous and wanting to vomit. No, thank you. I booked my ticket. Great. I'd also checked the weather just in case fate had in store for me a day of rain, as an example, which would be miserable, but it was ironically the best day of weather in about 2 weeks. So I thought, okay, weather forecasts, bear in mind, can change, particularly around the Baltic, but omens were good. They were definitely in my favour. So very grateful for that conversation with the hostel receptionist. This came out of left field. I wasn't planning to go on a day trip to Helsinki, but I thought, you know what? Why not? It felt like it was meant to be. So fantastic news. I'll put in the link below, as real YouTube blogging people say. I'll put in the link below the actual name of the website to use, because I'll be sailing with Viking Line, which is one of the ferry operators. But here's the catch. If you're only looking at the Ecoro, Viking Line or Tallink websites to see the prices, they don't appear to show the discount prices. Not in the time frame I'm talking about right now, in the last 2 weeks when I've been looking. But on this other website, so this is a good tip for you, you can save a lot of money because it lists not only all the sailings, the times, the arrivals, the departures, the arrivals, the prices of the tickets, which is all important, but it also features the discounts when they're available. This is the one and only website you need to use. And it could be that you travel as far as Estonia and you just think, Helsinki, oh, that's going to be expensive just to get there. It's so tempting, but what shall I do? Or alternatively, you might have come across Scandinavia or just been focusing your holiday in Finland itself and felt, oh, Tallinn is so temptingly close. It says day trip written all over it, for goodness sake. Then this website will be useful for you. So if I can learn how to do it, I'll try and put it right down below now in the video. But the chances are, as I'm a bit of a technophobe and techno-useless fossil when it comes to modern technology, I'll end up just putting it in the link below. Leivapileted.ee is how I pronounced it, to the great amusement of the Estonian hostel receptionist. Bless her. So I'm glad I put a smile on her face. It was my return favour for the great tip she gave me in mentioning this in the first place. I've got that coming up. Very excited about that day trip. And it's going to be a little bit of pressure because if I'm filming it as well, and there's so much to see in Helsinki and to do in just one day, it's madness. So I'm not going to try and do everything. And I've looked and I've seen some things actually aren't available on the day I'm going. I'm going on a Saturday. And obviously you've always got to do some background work, look to see what you might be interested in visiting, opening hours, cost of admission, the days it isn't open, days of the week it isn't open, any national holidays. You know, be smart, do a little bit of research. Unless you are happy to just go on a day trip and wander around the centre, stop here and there for a coffee, go into whatever museum might be open, or grab whatever performance tickets might be available for a concert and just be completely spontaneous, then why not? I think if you're in Tallinn for a while, you can do more than one or two of these day trips, especially if, for example, you're an Erasmus student, or if you're here with some other organisation. If you're here for a month and you have the weekends free, yeah, Helsinki's just screaming at you. Day trip, come and visit us, especially at these prices. You don't have to pay the hostel prices. Boy, if you want to give yourself a nosebleed, check right now on booking.com or Hostel World, see how much just the cheapest dorm bed in Helsinki would cost you. We're talking at least double, probably triple, in some cases maybe even quadruple the price of a Tallinn hostel. So if you're not wanting to pay 30 euros for a dorm bed, you'd rather be paying 10 to 15 euros for a dorm bed in Tallinn in a very nice hostel. This again is a great way of being able to just be out all day, seeing another city in another country. It's dead easy. You come back to the same cheap accommodation where you slept the night before. You're not going to be subject to Helsinki's very high prices. And so, there's also an obvious little tip I could add, and don't forget to take your drinks and snacks with you to save money, because food's going to be that much more expensive in Helsinki compared to Tallinn. Not as much as you might think, but you can make a bit of a saving by taking packed sandwiches, some rolls, a flask of tea, I could suggest, couldn't I? Or a bottle of water, depending on the season, depending on your own preference, whatever you need. And then if you do need to top that up with, if you're desperate for a coffee on the ferry, or to grab a kebab somewhere in Helsinki or anything else, then at least, you've made a bit of a saving on your food budget for the day. Look what I found in the hostel, what I'm calling the hostel library. There's a little alcove in the hostel opposite reception. It's actually a place where you go into to access some private rooms if you're a guest. But there's also a large bookcase. And among all the books, and this can be true so often in so many hostels, you will find things like random maps of places which might not even be on the same continent, or they might be in a place you're just about to visit. And if you like having a paper map, or if you just want to get a feel of, this map comes with all the accommodation made clear, all the things to do, perhaps even as this one does, the map in this little guidebook, it comes with 3 different suggested walking tours which are inked in their separate colours on top of the map. A lot of the work is actually done for you. You can actually identify what kind of walking tour you can take for yourself, not get lost. Again, it costs you nothing. There's none of the paying for a tour. There's none of the, it's a free walking tour, but at the end of the day, you've got to, it's expected to give the guide something. And I never know, genuinely, I never know. If you give the person €2, are you actually being rude? Is that like showing them a middle finger? Is there a standard €5 tip to a guide if they've walked you around a city for 2 hours? I was horrified when I saw in one country in South America, it's a free city tour on foot, and it looks very good. And this particular city, I can't remember which one it was, but it was being promoted as being super dangerous. So, just to not only get your bearings in the city, but to feel safe because you're walking around with a local. They're not going to take you down the wrong road, which leads into a neighbourhood where you'll get mugged. What could be better? City tour, promoted as free, but the suggested tip for the guide, and this is South America, I don't mean to be rude at all, but €8 per guest. So if you and your girlfriend or boyfriend or just you on your own are expected to cough up €8 each, the city guide is making some decent money, and it feels a little bit uncomfortable for me. I would rather it not be labelled a free city tour. I'd rather have it as this is the €5 version, so up front, and there's no embarrassment, awkwardness, or sort of bad feeling that might be left if it only becomes apparent at the end of the tour that you're expected to pay €10 each, as an example. I wouldn't want to say it's as strong as you'd feel cheated exactly, but personally I'd rather not be in that situation. Anyway, I've been digressing again. What a surprise. Me digressing. I found this great little book. It is out of date by a decade. I think it's 2015, I think it is. So it's not that bad. But a lot of the information is going to be stock information. It was valid in 2004, I think, the first time I went to Helsinki. Still valid now. The streets are still called the same names. There's churches, museums, train station, open air museum, the streets with the cool architecture, the hip vibe district is still the same. So not too much has changed here. Obviously some of the prices may be a little bit out of date, but it doesn't actually doesn't go into too much detail about prices. Perhaps the oh goodness, I'm just looking in this booklet. The free audio sightseeing tour, value €29. Now what does that mean? Does that mean you're expected to give €29 to the guide at the end of the free tour? Or it's by donation, you're given access to an app for your phone or an old school cassette and Walkman and some headphones to listen as you walk around, and you donate €29? I don't know, but God, this was in 2015. Goodness knows how much that is now. I dread to think. I'm so glad that I'm doing a bit of background work in advance. This book gives me all the information I need. I think I'll take a mini side tour within the day. Perhaps the first thing I'll do is pop over to a tiny fortified island, Suomenlinna Island. So I know from online what the ferry price is for that. Really cheap. At €5 for a return on that little ferry trip, 15 minutes each way. And then everything on the island's going to be free, just walking around admiring an old fortress basically. But a pretty cool one, especially if you see it in winter and from the air. Wow. But I won't be doing that. Still, I'll be seeing it a different time of year. I've never been there this time of year before, so that will be nice. It just goes to show what you can find if you snoop around in the hostel common room, what's lying around on a coffee table. This is the main thrust of what I'm trying to say today. Yes, you've got a lot of information online, on your phone, on your laptop, in apps, in Facebook groups, and goodness knows where else. But sometimes you never know what nice surprises are just lying around, and it could be that you just see something you never thought you would even look up as an inquiry on Google. I've just opened this pretty randomly here, and goodness knows what it's all about, but somebody might look at that picture and think, wow, I want to go and see that. I'll tell you what it's about. It's Hoto Golf West Coast introduces a new style of glow-in-the-dark indoor mini golf in Europe. Neon lights, special effects make playing in the dark fun and exciting. There's even a horror area with chilling special effects, while at the bar you can relax and enjoy cool drinks. Now, somebody who perhaps is thinking, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do in Helsinki, but museums are boring, don't like museums. Or maybe you get unlucky and, oh no, we bought the ticket and now the weather forecast is rain all day. You might just be looking through a guidebook like this for Helsinki, see something off the wall like this and think, Okay, so we can kill an hour or two there if it really is going to be that wet that we don't fancy walking around and being forced into paying to go into a museum we don't really want to go into, as an example. So guidebooks, as in other cases, if you look at people's blogs online, for example, or YouTube videos, you might just see something or hear about something, read about something that makes you think, ooh, I like that. Sometimes just a picture can make you want to go and see that statue, that park, that unusual attraction that you've never thought about before, never seen advertised anywhere before. I'm really, I'm kind of wishing there was snow. And who can blame me when can you see that picture? I'm not sure if you can. If you got the right clothing, wouldn't it be cool being in Helsinki right when that picture was taken? That old wooden vessel. Fabulous. And people there on skates, so you can take your own skates and do some ice skating. Anyway, I'm doing some preparation for my day trip. This video has gone on far too long. Sorry to have taken up so much of your time, but I hope I've encouraged you to seek out those ways of making your holiday a cheaper holiday, making your extended backpacking trip extended that little bit longer because you've got more money left in the bank, and just giving you some alternative ideas about how you can save some money on what looks like on the outside an expensive and otherwise expensive place to visit. You get a taste of Helsinki on a reasonably priced day trip without having to commit to a 2-3 night stay in a hostel, and oh my god, how much is this going to cost me? And then there's the food and the transport to get around the city. It doesn't have to be that way. Anyway, you'll be seeing a little bit more if you care to look at any of my videos from Helsinki when I come to film them shortly and then to post them maybe a little while later. Let's hope the ferry doesn't go down or hit an iceberg. Ciao for now.